I mean, the thing about the news is it doesn't really ever stop.
Or change, really. Yeah. Yeah, things are fucked up, and like they're still fucked up. And they're like fucked up in a slightly different way. How about those radio waves from high frequency radio bursts from other galaxies? You hear about that?
I didn't hear about that. Tell me about that.
That's all I know. There's something really special about one recently that has got them all excited. I hope I'm not spreading misinformation, but that's my understanding.
Okay, well, maybe we'll do a little fact check.
Oh yeah, you have that ability.
Oh wait, I might end up like just quitting this meeting if I do that.
Unfortunately, all the articles start out with a headline and like strongly implies that there's a good chance it's extraterrestrial life. Yeah. And then like by the end of the article, it's like, yeah, but this is almost certainly not extraterrestrial life. It's just like some kind of weird supernova, like with a weird orbit. And you're like,
yeah.
Why did you write this article?
Because somebody was excited about it. It is news to somebody. To the rest of us, we just want to know about aliens and whether or not they're going to kill us.
Yeah. Well, they are. They are.
This won't ever be carried on broadcast waves. It's, it goes out on cable and the internet. So, unfortunately, we won't be the downfall of humanity via an alien invasion in this particular moment. Probably.
Do we have any equipment around us that,
I mean, I've got all kinds of things. I've got all kinds of old junk and whatnot. Probably some of this could contact alien life. You've got a signal booster there or something?
Humidifier? Yeah. It might work. It might double as one. Can you imagine how refreshing it would be, how invigorating it would be to wake up in the morning to like a room full of coffee steam? Just fill a humidifier with coffee, or have your loved, anyone who claims to love you, should fill your humidifier with coffee, like an hour or two before you intend to wake up, so you can just sort of.
Yeah, why is the coffee maker in the kitchen?
Yeah, if there's a Camelback.
Did you ever see in my apartment with Lucas? I used to have a long straw that would go to a big jug of water by the sink, and up into my bed. I was in a loft bed, so I could drink water whenever I wanted.
Didn't you have a pulley system for turning out the lights, like Benjamin Franklin?
Did Benjamin Franklin have a thing for turning out the lights?
Yeah, no, I think he got his mouse friend to do most things for him. I don't think he's aged well. Very much advocating the genocide of Native Americans. So there might be some Ben Franklin statues coming down soon. I think it's great that they're tearing all these statues down, though. It's so exciting. I want to go. I hope to be there for one at some time.
What sort of statue would you put up in any statue's place? Because now we've got all this room for new statues.
I would advocate things that are like inherently like not trying to appear permanent, like a sort of vegetative statue,
a big chia pet or something.
Yeah, well, precisely, yeah. Something that can be pruned back, retrained to grow a different way if necessary.
It reminds me of a Chuck Berry song, towering above the village square, 30 meters in the air, rose his statue carved in stone, and as the king stood there alone, gazing upon his sculpted name, thought to himself, what is fame? Fame is but a slow decay, and even this shall pass away.
When we lived in Dallas at this place, Fair Park, which is sort of World's Fair Expo grounds that were built in that kind of era when World's Fairs were the thing. They were like pretty much YouTube. I don't know.
All the kids were hoping to grow up to be craftsmen building temporary structures.
And we lived right across from these fairgrounds, like really weird, athletic men and women in a somewhat Greek, somewhat Egyptian style. It really reminded me of the scene in the Never-Ending Story when, he's going through that final test, and they're the statues that shoot lasers out of their eyes. But yeah, there's a triumphalism kind of telling the founding of Texas, which is of course a horrible, brutal, settler colonial subjugation of First Nations people, and then chattel slavery forming its wealth through slave-picked cotton. I don't know. It was just like such a problematic and completely abandoned, like really weird, spooky space. I made this one movie there with these sculptures where I was trying to like create a homunculus or a golem. So I was like looking at some like old medieval texts and alchemical texts. The recipe for making a homunculus is like take a gourd filled with horse manure and leave it for like 24 nights. On this fourth, a translucent, fully formed man, 3 inches tall, will arise and do your bidding. I was feeling very compelled to relate this to Dallas and figure out what the metaphor was. So I was looking for horse manure, not having much luck. And I ended up down by this river, and these 2 guys were there. Oh, you gotta head over to that stable. You know, that's where like the Dallas police horses are all kept. So I went over to this place and got these piles of manure, and I'm like, now I have like police horse manure. And I'm like, oh. So it's the state trying to make a homunculus to do its bidding. Right after that, we moved away from Dallas, thank God. If you throw a open-ended enough metaphor out at the world through art, it will stick to the world quite easily. Which I think is one of the problems with art as like a political medium.
That almost provides me with a segue. You used to be in a band, the Arbols back in high school. So what's your kind of perspective on being in the Arbols from today's lens? I
mean, I just love how much of an exquisite corpse, like certainly the Arbols were, but I think so many bands, you know, it's like one person worships Sum 41, go up to Littleton, New Hampshire, and it's all about G.G. Allen. But this other person's like kind of totally 1977, almost like LARPing, like, you know, no, I'm much more about the 1980s hardcore scene. And then like people were like, no, I don't like, you know, would rebel against that.
They create their own institution to rebel against.
There are like multiple normativities in Vermont, right? Mm-hmm. That I think different kids were rejecting. Also being next to Hanover, right? Just the fact of like going over to Hanover.
Just eating a whole watermelon and peeing on the street.
Yeah, being weird.
There was something about it that couldn't, I feel like, exist before or exist after, because the internet was just usable enough.
Like I remember going to the Greasy Greasers website, and like really poring over like everything on their website, which was probably like, you know, 5 pages overall. Just like limits. There were limits that there aren't really now to access that I think caused really interesting mutation. It felt like really exciting to express ourselves politically, usually in very general ways. I also love that we were always playing in like these symbolic bastions of like the things that we were most opposed to.
Yeah, American Legions.
American Legion churches, you know.
Yeah.
I think something I don't feel great about is like just the way gender functioned. Like, I don't know, just like it was a real sausage fest most of the time. And you know, and I think a song like Brothers, like it is called Brothers, you know?
Yeah.
Some of the few girls in the punk scene, not all that fair that they have to sing along this song called Brothers, you know? Yeah. I just think there was like a sloshing around of testosterone that was highly unexamined, to say the least. You know, the blinding whiteness of our scene was remarkable. That's like a reflection of Vermont, of course.
Also the subject matter, only addressing like race issues in the most superficial way. Given
like the inputs we had at that time, I don't know that we could have come to much different conclusions, but I agree. The racists are like rednecks, who we do see, and Nazis, who everyone hates Nazis. And but like the only ones I've ever seen are like 40-year-old men who are like actually holding a Glock, and like I don't actually.
I can tell who the racists are. I don't know if my witty chorus can change his mind.
I could look back and see is a little bit of self-awareness of our ignorance when it came to race, you know? I think the small town pride,
it's like it's harmless until it isn't.
Yeah, I mean it's just funny to think that was really key to us, and I totally get and value why it was, right? Mm-hmm. But when that John Cougar Mellencamp song comes on, I was born in a small town. And it's like, oh my God, this is just like a spoonful of sugar for the medicine of white supremacy, you know?
Were there any songs in particular that you felt like...
that stand the test of time?
Yeah, that stand. What are the ones, you know, you go to a desert island and you can only bring a few Arbols songs with you.
I'm just like flying my hang glider over a desert island constantly.
I hope this doesn't go sideways, but if it does, I do have this Arbols playlist.
I think that it's true. Something about those lyrics, I'm like, that's a good song. You know it's true. It must be true.
So before you go, though, would you like to answer some listener feedback with me?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. This one's from On Tim Paul. What's the most memorable smell of your life?
I guess it's probably just the smell of like a Toyota Tercel that like was formerly owned by a smoker. It's a smell of like, you know, accumulated filth that is in no way unpleasant.
Does it put your brain somewhere else some other time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it puts me in like, you know, Vermont in the period we're talking about. And then I wrecked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why it happened. It's just like a bad driver.
You got any hygiene tips? From the Iron Vulpix. Your hair has grown out quite a bit since the last time I saw you. What sort of product are you putting in there?
Dipping it a little bit in the bacon grease, and I did end up with some what's it called, pine
pitch.
Well, it's not straight up pine pitch, and they said that you can use it on your hair, and it's just like a liquidy thing that smells vaguely like pine pitch that kind of burns slightly. Doesn't do anything I can discern.
It's one part pine pitch, one part lye.
Several parts lye, I think.
In Canada, you got like pine flavored soda once.
Oh yeah, spruce soda.
Beer.
You know, it was mostly just corn syrup and probably a completely artificial flavor, but it was spruce flavored. I found it delicious. Did you get some?
Yeah, you shared some with me. It was like, this is the taste of how a pine tree smells.
If you ever pop little spruce gum in your mouth, you're like, just like the old days. And you're like, ugh. What was great about it was it wasn't like a high-end item.
It's like Dr. Shaw's or...
Yeah.
What sorts of old-timey snacks or whatnot aren't going to make a sort of artisan comeback?
Pickled pig's feet are probably doomed.
Yeah, that's a hard sell, isn't it? What if they were tofu based or something, or that like Beyond Meat or whatever that's called?
But yeah, still pig. Okay.
It's still shaped like a pig foot floating in a fluid.
It's not that outlandish, but I think something that just does not match the contemporary palate was my grandfather's favorite pie, mince pie.
Oh yeah, isn't that mostly like raisin?
It's like raisins and then like, you know, a lot of like allspice.
Yeah, I remember there being a mincemeat pie at your wedding.
Yes, and I think that was probably like some kind of deep cut reference.
What do you think about brown bread in a can?
Oh, that was another favorite of his, and I'm a fan.
I've scooped it out of there and been like, you know what? There's better bread.
No, you push it out and you cut a slice.
Yeah, I know.
Don't scoop it out.
You can scoop it out. Why not?
And but there's not bread. Then it's bread pudding.
Well, I can scoop bread all I want.
You can do it, but the act of scooping like nullifies its breadness.
I don't think that's true.
Have you ever heard the phrase, "It's the greatest thing since scooped bread"? No. I had a friend in college who really insisted that like just hanging up a shirt,
It'll get air cleaned.
air cleaned, yeah. I believe I encountered some information that that's actually like sort of a thing. I think it's like, particularly in the Zoom era, not been too worried about my aroma.
Yeah.
You know?
We can get away with air cleaning, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's a great time to experiment, you know?
Yeah. Time to get some data, I'd say.
Yes, yeah. I don't think I'm a trustworthy scientist here.
Well, you can be. Anyone can be a scientist, Raf.
Yeah, but you can't be biased. I'm going into this with a lot of bias.
You need to set up a double-blind study.
Yeah, yeah. I can be a subject, just not a...
No, you can't be a subject. That would ruin the integrity of the experiment as well.
You're right.
They'll get some people off of Craigslist. They'll pay like $20.
Does Craigslist still exist?
Funny you should ask that. I've got a question here from ZipGuy88, and this is word for word. Hello, folks. So what kinds of pictures on Craigslist, Facebook, buy sites when buying something that looks sketchy to when you looked at them?
Wait. Let's break it down.
Okay. Hello, folks. So what kinds of pictures on Craigslist, Facebook, buy sites?
And buy sites? What is buy sites?
Buy sites is one word. What's the sketchiest website you've ever bought something off of?
That I've actually bought something off of.
I mean, you signed up for the Jews Harp Guild of America newsletter.
That's true, but that was just an era when like everything looked sketchy. You know?
Yeah.
When I was living in New York, there would be these Orthodox Jewish guys on a street corner who were kind of like evangelical, but only as evangelical as it can get within Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be like, "Excuse me, are you Jewish?" I'd be like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, your mom's Jewish, or yeah, your dad's Jewish?" I'm like, "Yeah, my dad's Jewish." He's like, I think he said, "Close." Sorry, close. You know, nothing more to say to me, which I really appreciated. I'm like, sorry, I'm really just an infidel. Like, oh, okay, have a good day.
What did you have to leave behind from... Oh, this one's from ZipGuy88. The internet one was from Coyote Pickled Bob.
Oh, that explains it.
Yeah, sorry, I got those mixed up.
When I was like, okay, I'm going to college. Who knows if I'll be back. It's time to snip off my rat tail.
Yeah. Didn't you bury that in the bean garden we made underneath the bridge on 132?
Yeah, yes. And then I left a note, this very like intense note to Eli that explained where it was. And he still has it.
Oh, you went and got it?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just leave the rat tail with him?